You're backstage with hashtag RDM on Radio Random Network. Now, here's the host, hashtag RDM, Russell Devin McLean.
All right, joining me today backstage with hashtag RDM. He's got a new album out. It's called The Grand Loss and Legacy. I'm talking to none other than Mr. Craig Greenberg. How you doing, Craig?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
We're doing great. We're doing great, my friend. So what's been going on, man?
Well, what's been going on? So, the record came out in a couple months ago. We did some touring this summer. I did a little bit with the band, a little bit solo. We put out a music video, actually the first music video I've done for the first single, and got a couple more videos in the works. Just got some good press with the record. It premiered on relics.com, and we got some write-up like in the Huffington Post and a couple other spots. So just trying to get the word out.
Yes,
it's been good stuff. It's been an exciting time. Yeah.
The name of the title track of the album, or the name of the track on the album, the single, that girl is wrong for you. And there's an official video actually available if you go to Craig's website. It's CraigGreenbergMusic.com. But
yep.
Speaking of which, what was the inspiration behind the song "That Girl Is Wrong for You"?
Well, it's actually a combination of a couple of different women that I've known in my life. I was kind of writing it to myself, even though it's kind of written in the third person. Trying to warn myself off of certain kind of women that I tend to meet. So it wasn't. It's funny because everyone thinks even my former bass player thought it was about his girl. It's like the amount of people that think it's about them. But it's really just a combination of a couple of women I've known over the last few years. It's just a warning song.
Yes, indeed. Well, take us back a little bit now. The start of your career as a musician. When did you decide that this was something that you was wanting to do as a profession? Well,
it was kind of incidental. I actually I was working in New York years ago, in a real job, and quote real job, and I was writing on the side, and I was just starting to record some things and play them for friends, and then I just made a decision that I really needed to kind of give it a try. I mean, when I was in college, I was a guitar player and I was writing some instrumental stuff, but it wasn't until I started writing some full songs where I was like, well, this would really be the ideal thing to try to do. And actually, when I made that decision, I actually left New York because I kind of felt being from here, I felt just too overwhelmed and intimidated to start here. So I actually went up going down to live in Latin America for a while, just to kind of go on a sabbatical and write some music. And what happened was, when I was down there, I got my start playing in bars, actually playing covers in bars.
Yes.
And that's where I started really performing and started singing, and that was kind of the beginning. And once I had this first break, I was hired to play 3 nights a week at this place, and then I just so I played a Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and then I remember waking up on that Sunday and just feeling like my life had just changed. Everything was going to be different, because once I started singing, and I was like, wow, I need to do this always. So that was a little over 10 years ago. And I kind of clicked in, and then I gradually started, when I finished more of my original stuff and kind of just performing, doing my original music, and then came back to New York. And that's when I really kind of hit the ground running, and just kind of, slowly built my thing from there. Built a band, and just really worked on my writing. And that's also when piano kind of became my main instrument then. And, it has been really for the last, since I've been back in New York. So it's been a long but steady build.
Yes, indeed. Now, you were talking about your the original music and your writing and everything. Now, tell me, where do you usually gather your songwriting inspiration? What is your usual, I guess, songwriting process?
Well, it varies a little bit. I mean, in terms of inspiration, I've always been interested in people and stories of people, and also language in general. I really just like playing with the English language. I find that always been a fun thing. But usually when I start, I mean, when I'm writing, it's usually from a musical point of view. Like I'll get a melody in my head, or I'll be sitting at the piano and get some chord changes, and then I'll just start kind of like vocalizing, sounds, and kind of do like a stream of consciousness thing, and kind of see what kind of sounds and syllables like will form. And then it's the song. It's like I never really go in and say I want to write about this. It's usually a kind of discovery. Like I'll just start vocalizing, and then some words will come out, and then I'm like, oh, and then I'll kind of get me in a direction, and then I'll kind of, after I've written a little bit, just kind of again, like stream of consciousness. I'll like go back and be like, all right, what is this about?
Right.
And maybe I'll hit on something that I feel is like a good title, and then that kind of grounds the song. And then once I have that, then it's kind of like filling it in. But it's usually a discovery. It's not like, saying I want to go out and write about this. So it's kind of mining my subconscious. But usually I'll find out, I'll think I'll be writing about something, and then it'll turn into something else. I'm like, oh, this is actually, about this. So, but usually it's the music kind of evoking a mood, and then kind of that putting me into like a, lyrical headspace, and going from there.
Now, you were talking about the piano becoming your now, I guess, main instrument. Who are some of your influences as far as musicians?
Well, I mean, when I was guitar primarily, I mean, early on, I was, when I first started really getting into music, I was big into Jimmy Page. I was big into Jimi Hendrix, Dave Gilmour, Pink Floyd, and then like getting into some of the more jammy stuff like the Allman Brothers and Fish and the Grateful Dead. So Warren Haynes and Duane Allman. The Allmans were big, and then Trey Anastasio from Fish, Jerry Garcia. So in terms of guitar players, those are Brian May. I was a huge Queen fan. That was huge for me too. Rush was another band. So Alex Lifeson. Those are all some of my those guys that really rocked my world as far as playing guitar. And then when I got into piano, I grew up in Long Island, New York, so I was exposed to quite a bit of Billy Joel. So he was really, in terms of getting my chops on piano, it was a lot from learning a lot of his songs, a lot of his catalog. That kind of shaped my playing early on. And then Ben Folds, huge, Randy Newman, Elton John, Leon Russell, those are my big piano influences. So I've had a good variation on both instruments, and they've come from different places and different points in my life. Nice range.
Now, something I forgot to ask you a few minutes ago. We were talking about doing, you're doing this as a profession and everything. Now, is this your main job? Is this what you wake up and doing every day, or do you have something else?
I still have some other day gigs that I do, but it's becoming more and more my job, and I'm hoping, in the not too distant future to just have it be my income. Like I said, it's been a slow and steady build, and because years ago when I first started, I was doing cover gigs, and I kind of segued out of that, and obviously there's, if you just wanted to work as a musician, I could be doing that kind of stuff. But when I made the decision that I really wanted to be an artist and a songwriter, and then I was like, all right, well, if that's my choice, then I need to still have some other income while I'm building that. So I still do have some other stuff I do in New York, but I'm hoping in the next year to 2 years to kind of just have music be all I'm doing.
Yes, indeed. Now, how do you balance your music with your other obligations, such as your day job or a family?
Yeah, well, I don't have a family. I'm single, so I've kind of kept myself free in that regard. I mean, I only work. I have about 20, 25 hours of work that I do during the week, so it's not too bad, you know. And it's flexible if I need to take off when I've toured. So I've kind of have it dialed in where I still get to spend a good amount of time. It's not, you know, completely. It's not as all the time. Like, so I mean, I don't do, you know, if I had more time, it would be nice to have, you know, maybe another side project, you know, to kind of. I've been pretty focused on my singer-songwriter thing, but maybe at some point when, you know, I'll be able to open up to just kind of do some other projects that kind of interest me. But for the time being, it's really been mainly just pushing, you know, my original stuff. I also do co-writing, so I'll write with other artists as well. That's kind of another thing that I've been doing more of in the last few years. But writing has really, you know, always been the goal, just to, you know, be a songwriter. And I write for myself, but I like the idea of writing for other artists, and so that's kind of a balance I'm trying to work out as well. But I know that I can't if I go too long without performing, I kind of get tweaked.
Yeah, you gotta scratch it. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, so it's, you know, but I'm fortunate in that I like all the aspects of what I do. I really, you know, I like the solitary aspect of writing and like kind of locking myself in, and then I just like also, you know, the social aspect of being in front of a crowd and interacting with people, and, you know, so I'm lucky in that I kind of like those different aspects of the gig, you know.
Yes, indeed. Now, you know, you're talking about touring and everything. Now, give us some of the challenges that maybe you've had to face in the process of setting a tour up and getting everything, I guess, getting everything in order to be able to go out and tour with a band.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, that takes a lot of time, and I've had some help. I've had some bookers who have helped me over the years. But it's been a lot on just kind of building my network out, and, you know, and kind of I mean, I'm fortunate also to have a couple of mentors in the business, guys that have been around and are older, and they've kind of, you know, helped me connect with some people in different places. So I've had that going. But yeah, it takes a lot, and you know, so many things, so many details to it, and a lot of things that can go wrong or that can delay you. So first and foremost, you gotta have patience to do it, and be diligent. You know, you gotta follow up with people. You gotta, I mean, it's a simple thing, but, you know, people, you know, send you an email or something. You gotta, you know, follow up and stay on top of things. You know, especially with venues, can be a little loose. You know, like with this last tour. You know, we had a confirmation. This booker said we were confirmed, but nothing was on the venue website. So it's like, you gotta so I was like calling them, you know, almost every day, just to, you know, because we're traveling a long way, and you don't want to get to a place and find out they don't even, you know, they don't have you scheduled, or so there's a lot of things like that. But really, you have to, you know, the most important thing in terms of like a personality trait is just to be able to roll with the punches. You know, things are going to happen, things are going to go wrong, and you got to just kind of be ready to, you know, that's part of the gig. It's just being able to roll with it, you know.
Yes, indeed. Now, you were talking about some of the people that's in the that's already in the business that are kind of mentoring you and everything. You actually had a chance to open for Bob Malone, and for the listeners out there who don't know who Bob Malone is, he's actually a songwriter, and he's the keyboard player for the legendary John Fogerty of Creedence Clearwater fame. Did you get a chance to speak with Bob? Did he maybe share some advice or anything with you?
Bob, it's so funny you mentioned that. He's actually he's in the city right now, and we were together, got together last week for dinner. Bob has been one of, you know, maybe the best resource. He's maybe the nicest guy in the music business. You know, yeah. So I've opened up with him. I've taken a couple lessons from him, but he's been great. He's just you know, an encyclopedia of advice about the music business, because he's been out there so long, and he'd started it all before the internet, so it's like he really paid his dues, just kind of touring, you know, nonstop, and The guy's amazing, and again, he's like, we went out one day, and he basically just gave me like his contact list. He's like, here, he's like, good luck.
Wow.
And he's just that nice of a guy. Yeah. So he's been a great resource, and I'm lucky to have met him and to have him as a friend and a mentor and a colleague. You know, he's great. So I'm glad that you mentioned him, because he's someone that he's fine. He's been around a long time, and he's really gotten in the last few years kind of getting the respect he deserves. So yeah, but he's definitely one of a kind in the music business in terms of just being a giving person and just he's great. He's really great. I'm good friends with his wife too, and I've stayed with them when I'm out in LA. So and he's borrows my gear when he's in New York, and so we have good friendship. Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
And you were talking about how he was around before the the internet and everything, and he paid his dues and everything. With that said, Craig, do you feel that online presence is important for fans to find you and the critics to find your music to write about these days?
Oh, I mean, it's essential. I mean, there's no way I would even be in the game at this point were it not for the internet and social media. I mean, I've really built my thing online to a large degree, through Facebook, before that MySpace, and now Twitter and Instagram. Like, there's no way around it. Some people are more active than others. Some people do different kinds of, like, one thing I'm not as up on as, a lot of the young, maybe younger songwriters and artists, like, are really good. They really understand video and putting themselves out. Like, that's still something that's not the most natural for me, and I've had to like work at kind of becoming more comfortable with that. Just people are just the generation now, they're just very comfortable like talking, in video. I'm still a little shy in that regard. I'm okay. It depends. I mean, there are definitely people that are less comfortable, but it's definitely not been the most natural thing. So that's been an adjustment. But definitely, I've really built my thing person by person, and when I get new fans, I reach out to them, and I keep up. I have my state by state list of people. So whenever I'm touring, I'll reach out to those people. So it's really, I couldn't imagine not, in this day and age, being out there and not doing it. And it is a trade-off in a way, because you don't have to really. You can build yourself without doing all the leg hours that like Bob had to put in, for example. I was kind of building. So I've done a bit of touring and doing that as well, but I've been able to kind of expand my base just through connecting with people on social media too. So it's a powerful tool. The trade-off being that there are some kids today that or people coming up that like haven't toured at all and then don't have the live. I mean, I'm happy that at least I got my start really paying my dues. I played as many as 6 nights a week when I first started, like with the cover bar gig. So I have those chops I can fall back on. But so there are some, musicians and artists today that have done an amazing job of marketing themselves, online, but they don't, go see them live, and they're just not very entertaining. I mean, or interesting. So I feel lucky that I kind of have a little bit, the best of both worlds in that regard.
Yes, indeed. Well, Craig, real quick before I let you go, my friend, can you share any information with any young, up-and-coming singer-songwriters or musicians that maybe want to follow in your footsteps?
Yeah, I would just say get out and when you're first starting, do every gig that you can. I mean, playing, that whole like 10,000 hours thing, I've definitely put those hours in, and it's really essential. And it's like these days, there's a tendency for people to want to rush everything and kind of get ahead as quickly as they can. But, in the long run, being able to play live and perform and work a room, that stuff was invaluable. And all my heroes started, the Beatles started that way. Billy Joel started that way. Sting, these guys started, as cover musicians. It gives you a foundation and something to fall back on, because trends are going to come and go. But if you can play live, if you can really play an instrument, which is another thing I, recommend,
yes,
then you always have that to fall back on,
right.
Like, and it's really, being consistently good and showing up, and following up, it's just like, people reach out to you, you thank them, you thank a venue after you play there. It's like, there are a lot of little things like that I've picked up along the way that really make all the difference, I just played a house concert yesterday in New Jersey that I got booked at like a year and a half ago. It's crazy. It's the longest gig in advance I'd ever booked out. But it was really, a couple of friends of mine had played it, so I reached out to these people and I kind of stayed. I really wanted to do it and stayed on top, and finally, I got in, and so it's just like following up is just essential, and it's like people can be really flaky, and musicians don't have a very good reputation for being reliable, so it really goes a long way when you can follow up and thank people, and you might be the most talented person, but if you're not if you're not following up, or if you're burning bridges, it's like it's going to come back around. So definitely be good to people on the way up, and so yeah, that's what I'd say.
Yes, indeed. That's great advice, my friend. Craig Greenberg. And you can find out more about Craig at CraigGreenbergMusic.com. Name of the album is The Grand Loss and Legacy. It's available now on iTunes and other major streaming networks. You had something to say, Craig? I'm sorry.
Oh, no. You just cut out for a second. I thought I lost you, but I got you.
Oh, my bad. No problem. All right, Craig. Well, I appreciate you joining us here with Backstage with hashtag RDM on the Radio Random Network. And we'll get with you in the near future, see what you got going on, bud.